Good afternoon, esteemed delegates and distinguished guests. I am Deepak, the head boy of Muthamil Public School, and it is my honor to welcome you to this exciting and prestigious Model United Nations session. We are gathered here today to engage in meaningful dialogue and to represent the global community in solving complex issues of international significance. Let us begin by expressing our gratitude to the organizing committee, faculty mentors, and all those who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this conference into a reality. The theme of this conference, Climate Fragility Risks, is both timely and critical. Today, as young aspirants and young diplomats, you have the unique opportunity to analyze, debate, and propose solutions to the challenges that impact millions around you. Your voices matter, and your ideas have the power to inspire change. To formally commence this conference, I would like to invite our esteemed chief guest, Dr. J. Barnabas, into our midst on this special occasion. He has published international journals, presented his paper in the international conference. He has also given guest lectures and has also been the book editor and conducted many seminars. Please join me in welcoming him with a big round of applause. To begin this event on a harmonious note, we kindly request everyone to stand for the United Nations song. Everyone, please be seated. Thank you for that soul-stirring song. It sets the perfect tone for what we hope will be a productive and insightful event. Now, to officially begin this session, it's me, Master Deepak, the head boy of Muthamil Public School, to deliver the welcome speech. It is with great pleasure and immense pride that I welcome you all to the prestigious Model United Nations Conference. Today marks the beginning of a unique journey where minds from various walks of life come together to engage in thoughtful discourse, practice diplomacy, and explore solutions to some of the world's most pressing challenges. A special welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Barnabas. Your presence here today is not only an honor for us, but also an inspiration to all the young delegates who are about to embark on this intellectual journey. Your vast experience and dedication to service will undoubtedly motivate us to strive for excellence in every aspect of this event. I would also like to extend my heartfelt welcome to our chairman, Sir, Mr. Amaravel Babu, for his steadfast leadership and unwavering support. His vision and commitment to nurturing young talent have made this event into a reality. To our correspondent, ma'am, Mrs. Jayanti Babu, and our principal, ma'am, Mrs. Mary Rani, we are deeply grateful for your encouragement and continuous guidance. Your support has been valuable in creating an environment where learning, leadership, and growth can flourish. Thank you, ma'am. A warm welcome to all the parents and media personnel present today. Your involvement, whether through encouragement or coverage, is essential in making this event a success. We deeply appreciate your continued support. and to the heart of this event, the delegates. You are the reason we are gathered here today. Each one of you has worked hard, researched extensively, and dedicated yourselves to this moment. We hope that this session ahead will be an opportunity for you to learn, grow, and network as you engage in debates and discussions on global issues that will shape the future. Lastly, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the teachers who have guided the delegates in their presentations for this conference. Your mentorship and encouragement have been pivotal in helping our young leaders realize their potential. The MUN Conference is only an exercise in diplomacy, but also an opportunity to build understanding, empathy, and communication skills that will serve you throughout your lives. Let us use this platform to engage in meaningful conversations, uphold the values of peace and cooperation, and most importantly, work towards a better world for all. Once again, a warm welcome to each one of you. Let the discussions begin, and may this conference be a great success. Thank you. And today, we are also deeply honored to have with us today Dr. J. Barnabas Jacob, Assistant Professor, a distinguished personality whose contribution to educations have been invaluable. To express our gratitude and admiration, we would like to now invite Correspondent Ma'am and Principal Ma'am for the special segment of the honoring of the Chief Guest. I request our Correspondent Ma'am to honor our Chief Guest with a memento as a token of love. And also, I request our Principal Ma'am to honor Sir with a bouquet. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion with your presence. We now move on to one of the highlights of today's event, the simulation of the Model United Nations. This simulation will allow our young delegates to step into the shoes of world leaders, solving some of the most pressing challenges of our time. Let's watch as our delegates engage in insightful discussions, heated debates, and collaborations to reach solutions. Over to Nadira for the commencement of Muthamil Public Schools United Nations session.
Please be seated, everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates, honored guests, and esteemed advisors. Welcome to Muthamil United Nations Conference, where we gather to simulate the workings of the United Nations and tackle some of the world's most pressing issues. I am Nadira, and I will be your chair for today's session. Before we commence with today's discussions, let us begin with an opening address. Please join me in welcoming our President, Ms. Danishka, who will provide us with some opening remarks. Now, I give the floor to Excellency Danishka.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Summit of the Future. I extend my gratitude to the co-facilitators, the former and the current presidents of the General Assembly and all member states for their strong engagement and creativity over the past 3 years. We have gathered here to revitalize multilateralism and address pressing global issues. This summit is crucial as we confront 21st century challenges that demand innovative solutions. Conflicts are escalating across regions, from the Middle East to Sudan, threatening our collective security. Geopolitical divides and nuclear posturing complicate our efforts, while many developing nations struggle under crippling debt, unable to support their population. Climate crisis exacerbates these challenges, destroys lives and economies. We recognize that a just transition away from the fossil fuels is essential. However, emissions continue to rise. New technologies like artificial intelligence are emerging without our governance, leaving us vulnerable. The United Nations was established nearly 8 years ago with 51 member states. Today, we have 193. Nevertheless, our institutions, struggling under crippling debt, particularly Security Council, are outdated and losing credibility. Reform is essential for today's world. The Pact for the Future, which includes commitments to Sustainable Development Goals and Global Digital Compact, which ensures that technology benefits everyone and address inequality. It emphasizes the importance of including youth in the decision-making process at all levels. As we embark on this journey together, let us reaffirm our commitment to the future where peace, dignity, and prosperity are reached within all. The challenges we face are immense, but through collaboration and reform, we can build a more inclusive and equitable world. Thank you for the dedication. Let us get to work.
Thank you, Ms. Danishka, for those insightful words. Now, let's proceed with the roll call. As a part of our standard procedure, we will now conduct a roll call to ensure that all delegates are present. When your country is called, please respond with present or present and voting. France, Russian Federation, China, United Kingdom, United States, Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Canada, India, Iran, Israel, Italy, South Africa, Lebanon, Pakistan, Switzerland, Nigeria. Thank you, delegates. All countries are now accounted for. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, Argentina.
Motion to open the speakers list.
Is there a second? Yes, Canada.
Motion to open the speakers list with a speaking time of 2 minutes per delegate.
Thank you, Canada. All those in favor of opening the speakers list with a speaking time of 2 minutes, please raise your placards. All those opposed? Thank you, delegates. This motion passes. We will now move on to the general speakers list, where the delegates have the opportunity to make opening statements about the issues at hand. Each delegate will have a time limit of 2 minutes to present their country's position. Please remember to adhere to the time limit. Argentina, since you proposed the motion, would you like to go first?
Honorable Chair, Madam President, distinguished delegates, it's an honor for me to address this Muthamil United Nation on the behalf of the Argentine Republic, a nation committed to the principles of justice, peace, and solidarity that lie at the heart of the United Nation. We gather here today at the time of profound global challenges, challenges that no single nation can face alone. From the deepening threats of climate change to the complex crisis of conflicts and inequality, the urgency of our collective response has never been greater. As we face these challenges, Argentina reaffirms its belief in multilateralism as the cornerstone of global governance. Argentina has long been a staunch advocate for peaceful resolution of conflicts, respect for international law, and promotion of human dignity. As a country that has been through the painful consequences of repression and dictatorship, we understand the profound importance of reconciliation, justice, and promotion of human dignity. Argentina stands ready to support any aimed at improving conflicts, addressing the root cause of violence, and ensuring that no one is left behind. We call upon the international community to renew its commitment to diplomacy, to strengthen the United Nations as the primary platform for dialogue and ensuring that the principle of peace prevails over all others. We believe that lasting peace is not made through military force, but through understanding, mutual respect, and cooperation. We call upon all nations to take immediate and decisive actions to mitigate the impacts of climate change and to honor the commitments made under the Paris Agreement. Argentina is fully committed in supporting a transition to green economy. As we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the global south who are the most vulnerable to the climate change, and urge developed countries to fulfill its financial commitments to support adaptation and resilience. Thank you.
We appreciate the remarks made by the delegate of Argentina. Now I give the floor to the representative of France.
Honorable Chair, Madam President, and distinguished delegate, peace begins with each one of us. It's about creating a world where everyone can thrive. Think about the last moment you truly felt at peace. Maybe it was a quiet moment in nature or shared a laugh with your loved one. That feeling, that connection, that's the seed of peace. Now consider if we could plant those seeds everywhere we go. An helping hand to neighbor, an open mind to different perspective. These simple actions may seem insignificant, but they ripple outwards, touching lives in ways we may never know. You have the power to create peace in your home, workplace, community, and these peace seeds grow and multiply and transform entire society. So, let's make a commitment today. Let's pledge to nurture peace in our daily life. Listen more than you speak. Try to understand before being understood. Choose compassion over judgment. These simple actions can bridge divides and heal wounds. The journey to global peace begins with the step we take in our daily life. You, yes, you can be the peacemaker. The world needs the seeds you will plant today. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of France for their statement. Would the delegate of China like to go next?
Distinguished guests, We are going to talk about an investment opportunity, but we are not here to discuss stocks or real estates. We are going to talk about investing in people, especially those living in poverty. For too long, we have treated poverty as a drain on society, a problem to be managed. What if we change the perspective? What if we treat people living in poverty not as liabilities but as untapped assets? Consider this. Every people living in poverty represent unrealized potential. They are entrepreneurs without capital, students without resources, and workers without opportunities. If we fail to lift these people out of poverty, then we are leaving talent on the table and money on the sidelines. When we invest in education for low-income children, we are creating future doctors, engineers, and innovators. When we ensure healthcare facilities, then we are building more productive workforce. Reducing poverty means less crime, better public health, and stronger communities. These investments can be made by changing our policies and priorities. We need to invest in anti-poverty program not as handouts but as investment for a shared future. Yes, these investments cost money upfront, but the long-term payoff, both economic and social, is immense. We are not just fighting for poverty, we are creating a more stronger and prosperous society. So I challenge you now, let's stop seeing poverty as a cost to be minimized and let's start seeing it as an opportunity to be seized. Let's start investing in our people, build up our communities, and build an economy that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next may raise your placards. Yes, Delegate of Lebanon, you are recognized.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, today we gather to reflect on a document that has shaped our course of history and continues to guide our sad journey towards a more just world. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948, stands as a beacon of hope and roadmap for human dignity. This declaration isn't just a list of lofty ideas. It's living, breathing testament to our collective aspirations. It reminds us that every person, regardless of their background, has the right to live free from fear, oppression, and discrimination. It affirms that we all have the right to work, to education, and to express ourselves freely and participate in decisions that affect our lives. But let's be honest, we are far from fully realizing these rights for everyone. Inequality persists, conflicts rage on, and still too many people face daily violations of their basic human rights. Keep in mind, every time we stand up for someone's rights, we are honoring the spirits of Universal Declaration. Every act of kindness and every push for justice and every voice raised against discrimination. These are the building blocks of a world where human rights are truly universal. The path ahead may be long and challenging, but we don't walk it alone. We are a part of a global community, united by our shared humanity and in the dignity of every individual. So, let's move forward with courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to human rights for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is now open to the Delegate of Canada.
To all the honorable delegates, respected chairperson, excellencies, and everyone present in this hall of knowledge, I extend my warm felt welcome. From the devastating impacts of climate change to the rising tides of political unrest, we find ourselves at crossroads. We face social, political, and economical problems that demand our collective response. As a Canadian delegate, I am here to highlight the negatives so that we can change them and make the world a better place. The first drawback would be the wars that are happening at present. Both the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Palestine war. Both of them appear to be the major threats for today's world. Both of them has caused disruption in global food chains and has also led to the loss of lives of many civilians. The Russia-Ukraine war alone has caused more than $56.4 billion loss in environmental damage, which also includes the contamination of air, water, and soil. The Israel-Palestine war is also becoming a part of broader humanitarian crisis. Peace is not the highest goal in one's life. Instead, it is a fundamental right for everyone in the world. So the wars should be stopped at earliest so that peace is reinstalled. The next important thing is the increasing population. It has caused many social challenges in many countries, mainly the urban areas. Also, the increased strain on the environment has contributed to large-scale disasters like pandemics. The next important thing that is a matter of intimidation is the increasing pollution, climate crisis, and environmental degradation. Increasing pollution stunts economic growth while it also contributes to many health issues. Also, it exacerbates poverty and inequality. Carbon neutrality and ecological sustainability have become imperatives for social cooperation. The next one is the geopolitical instability and power shifts. The international order is facing significant recalibration as the emerging powers challenge the traditional hegemony of established superpowers. The next one is that, in spite of the rapid pace of innovation in technology, it is accompanied by cybersecurity threats, and data sovereignty is in danger, which is becoming a challenge for policymakers. And these should be changed. I know, changing all this is not going to be an easy task. Instead, it is going to be the biggest challenge ever. But we should keep in our mind that the earth and the world is not the place that we inherit from our ancestors. Instead, we borrow it from our children. So it is our prime responsibility to buffer it and hand over it safely to the next generation. And Canada believes that this work will become smoother when we work unitedly as united nations. Thank you.
All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of South Africa, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President and distinguished delegates, it is a privilege for me to speak on behalf of Republic of South Africa in this esteemed assembly. South Africa stands firm in its commitment to the ideas of United Nations, justice, peace and human dignity. As a nation emerged from the darkness of apathy, we know the path through the lasting peace and prosperity requires unity, recolonization and mutual respect. These values are not only central to our domestic transformation, but also guide our approach to international relations. In a world marked by inequality, climate change and conflict, South Africa believes multilateralism is the key to addressing the most pressing challenges of our time. We call for a strengthened intensive goal partnership where the voices of all countries, particularly those of Global South, are heard and respected. South Africa is deeply committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we understood that achieving these goals require collective action and solidarity. We must ensure that no one is left behind, that access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities is available for all, regardless of their circumstances. In this spirit, South Africa believes continue working with all state members can build a sustainable, just, and peaceful world for our future generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of South Africa. Now, I recognize the delegate from Israel. Please limit your remarks to 2 minutes to adhere so that all voices can be heard.
Honorable Chair, Madam President, and distinguished delegates, it is a great honor to address this assembly on the behalf of the State of Israel. Israel was founded on its principles of democracy, justice, and the right to self-determination, and we remain committed to these values as we work towards peace, prosperity, and security for all. As a nation in the Middle East, we are deeply aware of the complexities of our region. But we also believe in the power of dialogue, diplomacy, and the pursuit of solutions that can bring lasting peace. Israel has long sought a two-state solution to Israeli-Palestinian conflict, one in which the Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in peace and security. We remain committed to direct negotiations, and we call on all parties to reject violence and extremism in the favor of meaningful discussion. Peace can only be achieved through mutual respect, compromise, and shared commitment to the future. Beyond our region, Israel is also dedicated to advancing cooperation on global challenges from technical innovation and economic development to climate action and public health. We believe that the United Nations must remain a forum where all nations work together to tackle the pressing issue of our time, where differences are set aside in the favor of shared solutions. Israel's commitment to peace and security is unwavering. We look forward to working with all member states in the spirit of cooperation and mutual respect to build a future based on peace, prosperity, and the hope for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. We have time for 2 more speakers. Seeing none is interested, we will move on. The next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for this session is addressing climate fragility risks. Are there any points almost on the floor? Are there any motions to amend the agenda? All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you, delegates. This motion is in order and passes. Are there any motions on the floor at this time? Yes, Delegate of India.
India moves for suspension and meeting for a moderated caucus of 30 minutes with 120 seconds speaking time to address the climate fragility risk.
Thank you, delegates. Are there any other points or motions on the floor at this time? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor from India for a moderated caucus for 30 minutes to discuss. This motion requires a simple majority to pass. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All opposed? Thank you, delegates. This motion passes. We are now in a suspension of the meeting for 30 minutes. We will now move to a moderated caucus. This allows for more focused discussion on specific aspects of the topic. I will now open the floor for a motion to initiate a moderated caucus on the topic climate fragility risks. India, since you made the motion, would you like to reserve the right to speak first? Yes, India, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President and distinguished delegates, I am honored to address today on the critical issue of climate fragility, a subject that holds profound implication for the future of our planet, especially for the developing nation such as India. The climate crisis is no longer a distant threat. It is already a harsh reality. It is reshaping our world with unprecedented speed and intensity, from the devastating floods in Kerala to a catastrophic heat waves in North India. From the water shortages affecting millions to millions of farmers who were struggling to cope with unpredictable monsoon, India has witnessed the fast and destructive power of warming planet. Yet, we are not alone. Across the global south, nations are grappling with dual challenges of combating climate change, while also facing its direct consequences. India, with a population of over 1.4 billion, is a home to diverse ecosystem and millions of people who rely on the agriculture for their livelihood. Our farmers are on the front line witnessing the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, such as flood, drought, and unseasonal storm, which threaten their ability to feed their families and themselves. Rising sea level threaten coastal cities like Mumbai and Chennai, while urban areas across India face increasing pressure on both climate-induced disaster and rapid urbanization. But let us be clear, climate fragility is not confined to India. It is a global challenge which requires global action. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Pakistan, you have the floor for 120 seconds.
Honorable President and distinguished delegates, today I stand here on behalf of Pakistan to address one of the most important issues, that is climatic crisis. Its effects are no longer theoretical, but it is happening now. Pakistan, like many other developing nations, is a victim of climatic fragility. In a country with a population of 240 million, in which more than 40% of our people are employed in the agricultural sector, a single drought or flood can destroy years of hard work and can displace entire communities, causing destruction of lives and homes. To understand that Pakistan is not just confined by the environment alone, it is straining our healthcare system, and our food security is threatened as unpredictable weather patterns makes it hard to plan for agricultural production. Heat waves are rising in our cities and air pollution is increasing day by day. Yet the biggest risk we face is for potential for political instability. In a country where already millions of people are vulnerable to climatic crisis, the growing competition for water resources may heighten regional tension. The fact that climatic change is no longer an environmental issue, but is a national security issue. To understand that climatic fragility is not just confined by the borders of any one country. It is a global problem that needs a global solution. Pakistan and many other global south countries are least responsible for the global emissions, yet we are one of the most vulnerable countries to global crisis. Today our call is simple. We cannot confront climatic crisis alone. The international community must come together and provide developing countries like Pakistan with transfer of technology, infrastructure, and should address losses and damages. Developed countries which have historically contributed to the high global emissions must fulfill their obligations by assisting developing countries build strong resilience against future climatic crisis. The world has mobilized more than $100 billion annually for climatic finance, yet these commitments have not been fully realized. We ask for immediate adequate funding for both adaptation, loss, and damages. This is a matter of equity, fairness, and justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Australia, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, fellow delegates and excellencies, the Delegate of Australia takes the stance on the mitigating impact of climate change on the oceans with special attention to coral reefs. The world is witnessing, rather experiencing, the long predicted effects of climate change and global warming predicted by scientists. Significant negative impact of marine life due to excessive eating, acidification, rising sea levels, and stronger storms have been observed not only in the tropical regions but all more adversely in the polar regions, affecting the marine ecosystem drastically, altering the marine food chains and food supplies to humans. The average global pH ocean level has fallen from 8.11 in 1985 to 8.047 in 2020 and is still on rise. This decimal may be seen negligible for humans, but it is causing a devastating effect on the coral reefs. Coral reefs harbor the highest biodiversity of any ecosystem globally. Despite covering less than 0.1% on the ocean's floor, reefs host more than one quarter of the marine fish species in addition to many other marine animals. Additionally, reefs provide a wide variety of ecosystem services such as subsistence food, sustaining fish, and tourism industries. Their disappearance will therefore have social, economic, and health consequences. Coral reefs are estimated to support directly over 500 million people all over the country who rely on them for their daily subsistence, mostly from the poor countries. Coral reefs are key indicators of global ecosystem health. They serve as an early warning sign of what may happen to others in less sensitive systems, such as river deltas, if climate change is not urgently being addressed. Once the tipping point for the survival of the coral reefs is passed, the deteriorations of other systems may cascade more quickly and irreversibly. 14% of the world's coral reefs have been lost since 2009, and over 60.5% have been affected as a result of climate change. It is a disaster alarm ringing right now that calls for immediate action. The delegate now yields the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. Delegate of Belgium, you have the floor now.
Honorable Chair, Madam President and distinguished delegates, climate change is not only an environmental issue but also a major driver of fragility. The country has been involved in global efforts to link the climate action with peace and security. Climate-intense resource scarcity, extreme weather event, and displacement that can exacerbate existing social tension and conflicts. The country has been involved in global efforts to link the climate action into broader security and development agendas of United Nations. Finally, Belgium got its position into climate risk, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Climate change is closely connected into SDGs such as poverty alleviation, gender equality, clean water and sanitization, and decent work. Belgium would likely underscore the need to integrate climate action into SDGs for a holistic and sustainable approach to the global development. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Iran, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President, and esteemed delegates, the Islamic Republic of Iran stands before you not only a developing nation, but as a country experiencing the profound effects of climatic changes. Our people faces extreme water scarcities, unpredictable weather pattern, and desertifications of once fertile land. Iran, with its rich cultural heritage and history, now contended with severe drought that threaten our agricultural livelihood and food security. The Ziande River, once a lifeline to a million, has been reduced to mere trickle. This is the reality we must share with many of our regional neighbors, and it is the challenges we must confront together. The climatic changes does not recognize the border. The Middle East, where Iran resides, is one of the most vulnerable regions to the impact of global warming. The water resources shared across multiple nations, and what happened to one country affects other. Therefore, regional cooperation is no longer optional but an imperative. We must strengthen our collective efforts to address the cross-border challenges such as dust storms, migration driven by environmental pressure. I call all our neighbors, international community to support a cooperative regional framework for climate adaptations and disaster preparedness. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. Delegate of Italy, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President and distinguished delegates, it is privilege to address this distinguished assembly today on an issue that is not only urgent but vital to the future of our planet and our shared prosperity, climate change. As we are gathered here today, we are united by a common challenge to safeguard the future of our planet and our shared prosperity and the movement of the children and grandchildren. The science is clear. The consequences of inaction are increasingly severe. The climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is here, and it is affecting the community, economics, and ecosystem all across the globe. Italy is the proud signatory to the Paris Agreement, and we remain deeply committed to the Paris Agreement of principles of climate justice and sustainable development. In 2020, Italy committed to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, and we are working hard to meet this target through the combinations of policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing the shares of renewable resources and improving energy efficiency. as our Green New Deal lays out a pathway for Italy to decarbonize its economic value and economic recovery, and creating green jobs and fostering economic recovery. As a Mediterranean country, we are acutely aware of the vulnerability of our region to rising sea level, coastal erosions, and degradation of our natural resources. And we are working hard to decarbonize our transportation sector by promoting electric vehicles and sectors of transportation sector. No country and no community can face this crisis alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. Delegate of Canada, you are recognized.
To all the honorable delegates present here and the esteemed chairperson, I extend my warm felt welcome. It's my pleasure to be here as an honorable delegate of Canada. As today's debate focuses on the main key point, climate change and its impacts on the different parts of the world, I hereby take up the stage to give a brief intro on climate change and its impacts on Canada. To begin with, climate change is simply defined as a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns and is a major threatening factor that's affecting the whole world. From shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, its impacts are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Canada has a huge impact of climate change in the recent times and in the future. Due to this, it is said that Canada's economic growth can get slowed down by $25 billion annually. Even though these factors are affecting the people and the country, we, the Canadians and the Canada government are taking initiatives and stepping ahead in all the possible ways to avoid this threatening factor. By 2018, Canada was one of the bottom 10 countries who were considered as the largest emitters of greenhouse gases. And due to the people's and the government's action, by 2024, Canada has ranked the second place among the countries with large carbon emissions. But as this is a threatening factor that's not only affecting Canada but the whole world, what we think is to totally avoid this destroying factor, not only Canada but the whole world should work united. Nothing is too late, and we believe this is the right time we can do something about this. So let us work on to this together and bring a better change. Thank you all.
Thank you, Delegate of Canada. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of the United States, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President, Excellencies and fellow delegate. The Delegate of United States of America takes stance on improving energy sector for better economic development. Energy is the basic requirement to conduct many economic activity. Energy is tightly linked with economic development. It is clear that higher level of GDP are correlated with higher electricity use, access, reliability and affordability. Energy being the lifeline of almost all industries in the state, many states are reeling under energy insecurity. It depends on various factors via natural resources for non-renewable resources like coal, oil and natural gas. The climate may be conducive to generating renewable resources. For example, if a country is sunny, then it can produce lots of solar energy using solar panels. The physical geography of a country can mean that other forms of energy production are possible. For example, geothermal energy is possible in volcanic areas. With global warming and impact on climate change adversely escalating, the United States of America has established an effective system to harness and utilize the alternate forms of energy. Through its foreign policies, it has also provided with technological and monetary assistance as the need requires for developing and underdeveloped countries. It is vital to understand the long-term impact of climate change on the energy sector that inadvertently reflects on the economic development of a state. The economic development is the major goal of every state to tackle issues plaguing its process. With this, the Delegate of United States of America yields the floor for questions.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Russia, you are recognized.
Madam President, Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Russia recognizes the increasing challenges posed by climate change, including extreme weather events, rising temperatures, and environmental degradation. Our country, with its vast and diverse geography, is already experiencing the effect of these changes, particularly in the Arctic region. The Arctic is warming at twice the global average rate, and this presents both opportunities and challenges for Russia. We are committed to protecting the fragile Arctic environment while also responsibly managing the natural resources which are crucial to the livelihoods of our people and the global energy security. As one of the world's leading energy producers, Russia recognizes its responsibility to address climate change. However, any transition to a greener economy should be just, fair, and does not jeopardize the energy security or the livelihoods of our people who depend on fossil fuel industries. It is also important to remember that developed countries have historically contributed the most most to greenhouse gas emissions, and they must bear a large share of responsibility towards mitigating climate change. We should also avoid imposing unrealistic demands on emerging economies and recognize the right of every nation to pursue economic development in a sustainable manner. Russia reaffirms its commitment to the Paris Agreement and recognizes the importance of collective action. However, any global accord must respect the sovereignty of the nation and differentiate responsibilities based on economic development and national capacities. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Switzerland, you are recognized.
It is an honor for Switzerland to address this esteemed assembly at the outset of another important session of United Nations. We all are gathered here as a member of global community to ensure peace, security, prosperity for all the people of the world. Switzerland stands ready to work with each and every one of you to advance these goals, meet up challenges of our time with dedication and compassion. The global landscape is evolving. New challenges demand innovative solutions. From armed conflict to the threat of terrorism, the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction to humanitarian crisis that continue to devastate regions across the world. But the most urgent challenge of all of it is the climate crisis. Switzerland stands in the front line for climate crisis, understanding that our planet is at risk at future. Rising temperature, extreme weather events, and loss of biodiversity are no longer threats. They're happening now. They demand immediate and coordinated action. Switzerland is also dedicated to advancing the cause of human rights. We believe that the rights of individuals must be protected and that every person, regardless of their background, should have the opportunity to live with dignity and equality. In closing, let us remember, the work of this assembly is not the words we speak, but the actions we take. It is the action we take together that will define our future of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placard. Delegate of Nigeria, you have the floor now.
Honorable Chair, fellow delegates and excellencies, the delegate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria takes stance on conserving and improving the biodiversity of the state for the better economic development. Nigeria spans different climatic as well as ecological features, therefore it holds a unique geographical position in Africa. Nigeria's natural diversity varies from semi-arid savanna to seasonal floodplains, freshwater swamps and coastal vegetations. Nigeria has the largest tract of mangrove forest in Africa. Due to the climatic as well as some physical features, Nigeria is empowered with rich amount of flora and fauna. The country's economy is characterized by largest rural-based traditional sector. According to the National Strategy of 2022 and 2026, Nigeria is home to 864 species of birds, 117 amphibians, 203 reptiles, 284 amphibians, and more than 4,700 vascular plants, as well as some undocumented species. The Nigeria's Niger Delta is the global biodiversity hotspot because it holds the largest tract of mangrove forest, as well as Nigeria provides 11 Ramsar sites, which are the wetlands of international importance, because it gives home to the endangered species such as the African manatee, river gorilla, red colobus, as well as leatherback turtle. According to the IUCN list of 2019, Nigeria is home to over 309 threatened species. The reason is overexploitation, overpopulation, lack of governance. The main factor driving for this is urbanization, poverty, and lack of awareness. Still, the country Nigeria sees some opportunities to improve the biodiversity. It also takes actions on strategies, implementing plans and policies. Nigeria also takes actions in regional as well as global initiatives and partnerships. The delegate of Nigeria yields the floor to the Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Nigeria. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of Britain, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, fellow delegates, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the delegates of the United Kingdom takes a stance against the societal impact of climate change. It is necessary to take care of our environment, and with all due respect, all the other states are striving incessantly towards it. The delegate presses the need to not neglect the impact climate change is causing to the society as a whole. Environmental changes are acute. Nevertheless, the world is inching towards a global health emergency. Change in climate is altering the burdens of diseases, including the heat-related illness and deaths, shifting infectious disease transmission, worsening maternal and child health outcomes, and intensifying diseases caused due to weather events such as flood, drought, wildfire, and windstorms. The result, according to the World Bank data, is that change in climate is leading to excess health costs in low and middle income countries of at least 21 trillion by 2050, and it is estimated that change in climate can also lead to push an additional 132 million of people into extreme poverty. And yields the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of China, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, Madam President, fellow delegates and excellencies, the delegate of Republic of China takes stance on reduction of greenhouse emissions to combat the adverse effects of global warming and climate change. The commitment of the state towards the reduction of greenhouse emissions, despite the fact that the country has vast population, is commendable. Its net zero goals by 2060 has kick-started decarbonization measures to reduce the use of fossil fuels in the state's journey to reach carbon neutrality, with a resolution to cooperate with the world countries and to achieve the collective ambition of Paris Agreement will surely reach success by 2060. China has its strategic alliances with the United States and the EU through its engagement in UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework on Climate Change, and the Kyoto Protocol, and its own initiative like the South Belt and Road. The state's transition to low carbon economy and to achieve the Paris Agreement target will surely reach success against the combat effects of climate change. Let us all work together to save against the climate change and its harsh effects. Now the delegate of Republic of China yields to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. We have time for 3 more speakers. Seeing none, this ends the moderated caucus. We will now move back into the formal session. The next step is an unmoderated caucus, during which the delegates will have the opportunity to work informally, form alliances, and draft resolutions. The unmoderated caucus will last for 20 minutes. Please use this time to collaborate with your fellow delegates. The delegates may now engage in informal discussions and draft your resolutions. Delegates, the time for the unmoderated caucus is over. The delegates are requested to return to their seats and maintain decorum. Thank you. Delegates, we will now proceed to the resolution writing phase. Please submit your draft resolutions to the dais. We will review them and then move to discuss and amend them as needed.
Points of inquiry, Honorable Chair.
Yes, France, you are recognized.
Could the Chair clarify the rules regarding the debate?
Yes. We will now enter the debate phase for the draft resolution. Each resolution will be debated and then amended as needed. Once the debate is complete, we will proceed to vote. The House will now proceed with the debate. The main submitter, please approach the podium to read out the operative clauses of the drafted resolutions.
Clause 1. Strongly recommend for the livable planet. Net zero commitments must be backed immediately by credible action. Net zero means reducing larger amounts of residual emissions to smaller amount of emissions that can be durably absorbed and stored by nature, and other carbon dioxide removal measures, leaving zero in the atmosphere. Clause 2. Raising ambition for climate adaptation and resilience.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any parts of clarification of the clause? Seeing none, the Chair now has 15 minutes open debate time on the resolution. Delegate of Canada, you will have 60 seconds. You may proceed with your speech.
The delegate of Canada would like to highlight the importance of net zero emissions. The science shows clearly that in order to avoid the worst impacts of climate change and preserve a livable planet, net zero emissions must be backed immediately. The global temperature increase needs to be limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Currently, the Earth is already warmer of about 1.2 degrees Celsius and the emissions continue to rise. To keep global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, as called for in the Paris Agreement, emissions need to be reduced by 45% by 2030, reaching net zero by 2050. Thank you. Please look for the resolution.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any point of information?
Yes, any and all point of information.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any points of information on the floor? Yes, Delegate of Belgium, you are recognized.
Point on clarification, Honorable Chair, on achieving zero emission.
Delegate of Canada.
Right to answer, Honorable Chair.
Delegate of Canada, you have been recognized.
Transitioning to a net zero world is one of the greatest challenges humankind has faced. It calls for nothing less than a complete transformation of how we produce, consume, and move about. The energy sector is the source of around 3/4 of greenhouse gas emissions today and holds the key to averting the worst effects of climate change. Replacing polluting coal, gas, and oil-fired power with energy of renewable sources such as wind or solar would dramatically reduce carbon emissions.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is now once again open to the delegates. Is there anyone interested? Delegate of India, you have been recognized.
Delegate of India believes that the resolution is perfect. Energy is at the heart of climate challenge and the key to the solution. A large chunk of greenhouse gas that blankets the earth and traps the sun's heat is produced through the energy production by burning fossil fuels to generate electricity and heat. Fossil fuels such as coal, oil and gas are the four largest contributors to the global climate change, accounting for about 75% of global greenhouse gas emission and nearly 90% of all carbon dioxide emission. The science is clear. To avoid the worst impacts on climate change, emission needed to be reduced by almost half in 2030 and reach net zero in 2050. To achieve this, we need to end our reliance on fossil fuels and invest on alternative sources of energy which are clean, accessible, affordable, sustainable and reliable. Renewable resources which are available all around us are produced by sun, wind, water, waste and heat from the earth. All of these are replenished by nature and emit less pollutants into air. Fossil fuels are still accounting for about 80% of global climate change, but the cleaner sources of resources were the gaining grounds. About 29% of electricity currently comes from renewable resources.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the Delegate of India open to any point of information?
Yes, any and all.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any points of information on the floor? Seeing none, delegate, you may give the floor back to the chair or to another delegate.
To another delegate.
And to which delegate would you like to give the floor?
To the delegate of Pakistan.
Delegate of Pakistan, do you accept the call? Delegate, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, according to the World Health Organization, 99% of the world's population breathe air that exceeds air quality limits and threatens their health. More than 13 million people a year die due to avoidable environmental costs. In 2018, $2.9 trillion was spent in economic and health costs due to burning of fossil fuels. The unhealthy levels of fine particles and nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere is caused due to the burning of fossil fuels. Switching to cleaner sources of energy like wind and solar not only helps us address the problem of climate change, but also the problem of health and economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any points of information on the floor? Delegate of Switzerland, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair, according to the UNEP Emission Gap Report 2024, the sixth largest greenhouse gas emits from China, India, USA, Brazil, Russian Federation and European Union, accounts for 63% of global emission in 2023. By contrast, the 47 least developed countries only account for 3%.
Thank you, Delegate. Would you like to give the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
To another delegate.
And to which delegate would you like to give the floor?
To Nigeria.
Delegate of Nigeria, do you accept the call?
Yes, Honorable Chair. The G20, the group of the world's largest 20 economies. Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Unions are responsible for about 77% of global greenhouse gas emission. Thank you.
Delegate of USA, you are recognized.
Right to answer, Honorable Chair.
Delegate of USA, you have been recognized.
Yes, we admit that
Our country is one of the largest emitter of greenhouse gas, but we have taken initiative to control it. Our federal government has executed a whole of government approach to increase use, protection and facilitation of carbon pollution, free efficiency and storage to achieve this goal. Each federal government will acquire zero emission vehicle in all vehicle classes as vehicle come to the market. Each federal agency will acquire zero emission vehicle for 100% in all light duty vehicles by 2027 and all medium heavy duty vehicles by 2035. The federal government is working across its portfolio of owned and leased buildings to increase water, energy efficiency, reduce waste, drive decarbonization in federal buildings, and achieve net zero emission across the federal portfolio of buildings, campuses, and installation by 2045. The federal government cannot achieve its goal by working alone. We will engage with domestic and international leaders to learn best practices for addressing more challenging and complex emission reduction opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Would you like to give the floor back to another delegate?
Yes.
And to which delegate would you like to give the floor?
To the delegate of Australia.
The delegate of Australia, do you accept the call?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Australia would like to say that our economies and societies as a whole need to become more resilient to climate impacts. This will require large-scale efforts, many of which will be orchestrated by governments. Roads and bridges may need to be built or adapted to withstand higher temperatures and more powerful storms. Many of the cities on coastlines may have to establish systems to prevent flooding in streets and underground transports. Mountainous regions may have to find ways to limit landslides and overflow from melting glaciers. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Would you like to give the floor to another delegate?
Yes.
And to which delegate would you like to give the floor?
To the delegate of China.
Delegate of China, do you accept the call?
Yes, Honorable Chair. I completely agree with the statement of Australia. Investment in adaptation makes a lot more sense than waiting and trying to catch up later. Protecting the lives of the people now saves the lives and reduces the risk moving forward. It also makes the financial sense too. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise. Delegate of the United Kingdom, you are recognized.
Yes, Honorable Chair. But I would like to mention that globally, a 1.8 trillion investment, yearly warning system, climate resilient infrastructure, improved agriculture, global mangrove protection along coastline, and resilient water resources could generate 7.1 trillion through the combination of avoided cost and a variety of social and environmental benefits. Universal access to yearly warning system can deliver benefits up to 10 times the initial cost. And if more farms install solar power irrigation, use new crop varieties, had access to weather alert system, and took other adaptive measures, the world would avoid drop-off of up to 30% by 2050. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placard. Delegate of Nigeria, you are recognized.
Well, the case for adaptation is clear. Some communities most vulnerable to climate change are the least able to adapt because they are poor and are in developing countries, struggling to come up with enough resources for basics like healthcare and education. Estimated adaptation cost could reach $387 billion by 2030, but adaptation finance reached only $32.4 billion in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. Delegate of Switzerland, you are recognized.
Yes, we Switzerland stand with the part where Nigeria mentioned. We request the General Assembly to kindly consider this. Thank you.
Yes, Switzerland, you are recognized. The floor is now once again open to the delegates. Seeing none is interested, the resolution will now be put to a vote. Please raise your placard to vote in favor, against, or to abstain. If you are voting in favor, please say A. And if you are voting in opposed, please say nay. Please state your voting preferences when I call out your country. France, Russian Federation, China, United Kingdom, United States, Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Canada, India, Iran, Israel, Italy, South Africa, Lebanon, Pakistan, Switzerland, Nigeria. Thank you, delegates. The results of the vote are as follows. All in favor, 16, opposed 2. With the majority of votes, this motion passes. As we conclude today's session, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to all the delegates and the guests for your hard work and dedication. This conference has demonstrated the importance of diplomacy and collaboration in addressing global challenges. Before we end, please join me in welcoming our General Secretary, Mr. Sriram, for some closing remarks.
Honorable Chair, esteemed delegates, as we come up to the end of this mock United Nations session, I want to express my gratitude to each of you for your dedication, cooperation, and passion. Over past few days, we have worked together to address global challenges, learning a value of dialogue, compromise, and mutual respect. Though our discussions may not have solved overall world issues, they have shown us the importance of collaboration and role each of us can play in shaping a better future. I would like to thank the Chair, Secretariat, and all delegates to make this event a success. With that, I officially declare this session closed. Let us take the lessons we have learned here and apply them as we continue to work towards a more peaceful and sustainable world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sriram, for those closing thoughts. This concludes our Muthamil MUN Conference. Have a great evening and safe travels. Thank you.